Every time we witness an injustice and do not act, we train our character to be passive in its presence, and thereby eventually lose all ability to defend ourselves and those we love. Julian Assange. Good evening, everyone. It's 11:37 p.m. where I am at. I think my thing is wrong. It's not 11:37 p.m. Eastern Time. I didn't adjust for the time zone. I'm gonna have to fix that. Oh well, I'll fix that in a little bit later. Right now, just so you know, that timer thing right there, that's off by an hour because I didn't adjust for the time jump. Okay, so before I go on, I just wanted to mention that this is part 2, and I think it's the end of the Julian Assange holding Gore Vidal's History of the National Security State. If you want to watch or read the entire thing, I do a read-through, and you can look in the description box if you're on YouTube. If you go to vim.tv or Steam it, you'll be able to see the link as well, which goes to my YouTube page. And for those who don't know, I'll show you the picture. Oops, there we go. And thank you again, Ronnie Foshi, yesterday for the super chat, my first super chat ever. That is pretty awesome. Now, hold on, I'm still having some things being loaded. Hey, good afternoon, plain and simple. Hi, that panda. How are you doing? So tonight, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you a summary, so you don't have to read the whole thing. You don't have to watch my read through or listen to my read through. You can go ahead and just listen to my summary. And my summary has 10 points. But before I get to my summary, I want to make sure that you can actually see. Let me see if I could get the picture that I want up. Alright, so below is a picture, a snapshot of Julian Assange being taken out of the Ecuadorian embassy in the UK. And he was holding this book, and people were wondering, and I was wondering, what's going on? Why is he having that book with him? And, you know, we're thinking of, you know, if we were Julian Assange and in his situation, he would probably prepare some words that he would shout out while he's being carried out. And maybe some type of writing or book to hold in his hands, maybe as a sign for people to investigate. So that's what I did. So the summary that I have, and this is taken from Gore Vidal's History of the National Security State, and I spent the last 3 hours taking notes. And you can see all these notes that I had here to highlight, so you can actually get to see it in this summary that I'm going to present. You can order this. There's a paperback copy you can get, or if you go to Amazon, Kindle has it for $2. But of course, if you want to just get it for free, you can just look in my previous YouTube video about this. So let's go ahead and go to the summary. So I have 10 points out here, and I think it's a good argument against those who might be saying that Julian Assange might be a CIA plant or honeypot or something like that. I want to hear some good reasoning behind that, because as far as I see, I don't see him as that, because he's definitely going against the grain. and pointing out corruption within the U.S. government, the American empire, the special interest groups, the CIA, and their meddling with democratically elected governments. All of that points to corruption, folks. And well, if that's a CIA plant, CIA are failing big time. So, I put number one, that presidents had an agenda, and he goes through quite a lot of history, and history that you won't find in the U.S. textbooks. And I didn't do much with George W. Bush, but because most of you already know about the W era. So, Woodrow Wilson tried to get America into World War I and used Hollywood propaganda to demonize the Germans. He hired George Creel to have Hollywood make movies about the savage Huns, and President Wilson would appear in at least 2 movies at the end and commend a nun for bravery against the Huns and would pin a medal on. So when you see, the president pinning medals of bravery or honor and all that stuff, all of that stemmed from Woodrow Wilson and Hollywood. And then we jump to Franklin Roosevelt. He set up his vision of the American empire. FDR maneuvered Japan into getting the U.S. into World War II. He was our first emperor. He also made an alliance with Stalin. Now, when Harry Truman comes in, he breaks that alliance with Stalin. Harry Truman used lies and propaganda smear tactics to attack FDR's true successor, which was Henry Wallace, who ran as an independent for president in 1948. Truman instituted loyalty oaths. Now, does that seem pretty authoritarian to you? And scared the American public with communism in order to build up the national security state. There's a power, quote, there's a monolithic power in the world today. That power is communism forever on the march. That was his State of the Union address, or his speech, his inauguration speech, I think. That wasn't his State of the Union address. And anyways, instead of demobilizing the army after World War II, Truman expanded militarization, dropped the atomic bombs on Japan, even though all military leaders at that time within the U.S. argued against it. Then we go to Dwight D. Eisenhower, who utilizes the CIA at least twice to overthrow, 1, the Guatemalan government, and then 2, the Iranian government. Both had democratically elected leaders. He at least eventually understood enough to at least hold back the Pentagon, and where you guys all know about his speech about the military-industrial complex. Jackie Kennedy, JFK, ordered the biggest buildup of the national security state since FDR. Neither Truman nor Eisenhower believed in the threat of world communism. They fomented that threat to build up the national security state, but JFK was a believer in that threat. And then finally, George Bush used the same lies and propaganda smear tactics against Senator John Kerry during the 2004 election. 2, Harry Truman devised the national security state and had about 7 points to it. And he talks about Document 68. I have not looked into what Document 68 is and to cover the entire 7 points to it, but maybe that I can do that at a later time. One of those points was never to negotiate honestly with Russians. And another was the total rearmament and constant rearmament and develop the hydrogen bomb. The end result is what we are today, a totally militarized economy. Let me repeat, the end result is what we are today, a totally militarized economy. 3, the Department of War becomes the Department of Defense, and the Pentagon is built as DoD's headquarters. Hi, Eric. How's it going? 4, the Office of Strategic Services becomes the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. Gore Vidal states that the CIA makes sure no liberal or leftist government comes to power. And as before, the CIA was under orders from President Eisenhower to overthrow the Guatemalan government and accused them of being communists so United Fruit wouldn't have to pay tax to the Guatemalan government. Hi, Shirley, how's it going? And also, the CIA also threw the Iranian government under orders from Eisenhower. And the CIA warned of the 9/11 attacks, yet the government under George W. Bush did nothing. 5. Corporate special interest groups now have a big hand in propaganda. And Senator Henry Cabot Lodge of Massachusetts was on the board of directors of United Fruit, who yelled, "Red, red, red, overthrow them," against the communist Guatemalan government. Quote, communist. And big money is having Pentagon in your pocket and being able to sell them weapons. General Electric makes nuclear weapons. It owns NBC. And it goes over a lot about media as well, because it was at the start of forming the Real News Network. The golden age was 1945 to 1950, after the Great Depression, in culture and in peace. And something I didn't mention was that that was 5 years of peace, because after the surrender of Japan and Germany, those 5 years were pretty peaceful until the Korean War. 7. The American media today is false, corrupt, and eager for mischief, making money for the ownership of the country. There's nothing to be done about them. They're obeying bigger, richer interests rather than informing the public. I should go ahead and make a quick adjustment there, because a lot of it's just taking it straight hand from the notes. When our media does not want to make money out of the news, corruption is complete, because we are seeing that the media does not cover things that should have a lot of views. But rather than making money off of informing the public and getting those views, well, the corruption is complete, because they are obeying special interest groups rather than being the fourth estate. Media is used to frighten the people. That seems like a no-brainer even now, yeah. Self-censorship transformed from being called or accused of being a, quote, communist, to now, quote, supporting terrorism, or, quote, not being a patriot. And yeah, we are seeing that even transformed now for being a racist or whatever. A lot of the SJW stuff that's been going on is helping form self-censorship within the media. And of course, we could go on more about that later. 8. The elections of 2004 were corrupted, and that places a precedent of further corruption for future elections. 8. The Republic is too broken. Habeas corpus needs to be brought back. The Magna Carta legal system and the pillars of the Constitution, they're now gone. And 10. We've always been an oligarchy of the well-to-do and are becoming even more so now. What freedoms we had now have been eliminated. Magna Carta guaranteed us due process of law, the only good thing England left us. So Magna Carta guarantees due process of law. You cannot have your life removed. You cannot have your money removed, your freedom removed, except by a trial by jury of your peers, and you could be represented by legal counsel. That's been eliminated. The Sixth Amendment is gone. So that is a summary, and that took 16 minutes. There's plenty of things you can go ahead and watch. The Real News Network actually had Jay Dyer, who is the one who interviewed Gore Vidal to get that book out there. And I will try to find it. There's a good segment on it. All right. So let's see. Now it's a 21-minute video. I'm not going to show you the video. I can show you the title of it. Assange arrested for exposing U.S. war crimes. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I was saying J Dyer. Sorry, Paul J. Who's the one who did it? He's the person who this is Paul J. Sorry, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, so I get names confused. So I apologize. So go ahead and watch this. It's 21 minutes long. It's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, Julian Assange is exposing U.S. war crimes, exposing the corruptions within the political system. I mean, he's just exposing a lot of things that need to be exposed, and he's being illegally harassed and detained by governments. And that is not good, folks. That is not good at all. Anyways, that's it for this segment. I will open up a open topic in a couple of minutes, and hopefully I can see you guys then. I try not to do a lot of talking. I've been sick. My throat is definitely sore. I'm not sure if it's probably a combination of both talking for 3.5 hours yesterday and being sick. So please come on so I don't have to talk. Thank you, and we'll see you later.